so this is the Mustang. It started out with an inline 6 and automatic inline 6 200 inline 6 Ford engine that was in it. I still have that for sale if somebody wants that. That's the pile of parts we've taken off so far. That's the rear end that I have for it, 8.8 rear end. Here we've taken off the front clip and the front fenders, and I'm replacing the inner fender. And then the same on this side. We did all the inner, this is the first thing I replaced on the Mustang, was the inner fenders. And this is where I learned how to do sheet metal work. I've never done sheet metal work before on a car. That's the fender in place, the new piece. It's the same, that's where the hole was before. So now you have your brand new inner fender in there. Lining up the fender. So before I weld the fender, the inner fenders in, I have to make sure that the outer fender mount holes all line up square to the body. So that's the gap there that I made, so you can see the gap between the body and the window is perfect. See, all along, you can see the weld that I cut off earlier is perfectly in line with the hole. See, because this hole is for a plug weld, right? Clamp it together and then you weld it. And you can see that the old weld that I cut is right in the hole, so it's perfectly lined up. So more progress on the inner fenders on the Mustang. Dry fitting the other side. The right front frame rail was rotted and I just put a piece of angle iron and basically cut out all the rust and then plated over top of it. This is the rear quarter, the left rear quarter that I cut out, and you can see how much rot. There's basically nothing left of it. There's a big hole right there. Same thing, I just started cutting out the left rear quarters, taking out everything in the interior, stripping the interior completely. Oh yeah, so we pulled the little inline 6 out. Now it's an empty cavern. 200 Ford inline 6 for sale. Anybody wants to buy it, make me an offer, I don't care. I've got the quarter completely cut off and the trunk pan out, as well as basically the trunk frame. That's the frame rail that's exposed once I got the whole floorboard out of the trunk. So that's what it looks like after I decided, okay, I'm changing the whole thing. The whole ass end's coming off. Now, so here I'm building gussets to hold the frame rail straight. So before you mount it on the rotisserie, you have to gusset it so it doesn't bend or twist when you put it on the rotisserie. So I put in this big gusset to hold the rear frame rail straight and true. That's 1/8 inch, 2-inch angle iron, just cut and welded into diamonds. This is the gussets that I put in the door. So now it's basically all gusseted, ready to put on the rotisserie. You can see the pieces of the rotisserie that I have, just starting to put the rotisserie together. When I bought this rotisserie, there's so many bad welds on it. I had to spend like three hours grinding and re-welding a bunch of welds on it before I felt like it was good enough to use. So here it is, we're just getting it set up and trying to figure out how it works, because I've never put a car on a rotisserie before. I've been fixing trucks for 23 years, but I haven't ever done this before. So everything I'm doing here is learning for the first time. So there's my buddy Nick helping me out. Now we have the Mustang on the rotisserie, and I just replaced the first floor pan, or I'm in the process of replacing the first floor pan. So here we've screwed it together. So you use self-tapping screws to hold it in place temporarily until you get it all lined up the way you want, and then you weld it. So there's a bunch of screws and clamps holding it all in, and then it's welded from the inside and the outside. There's a whole bunch of spot welds there. That's like, I think that probably took me about 3 hours of spot welding to just to weld that in after it was all fitted. That's the left front floor pan, and there's a gusset between the frame and the floor pan for where the steering box mounts. which I've removed because I'm putting rack and pinion steering in it, so I don't need it. So yeah, you can see I've cut out the original frame rail and the rotted out floor. This is what we're repairing right here. Okay, so there it is, all cut out. There's new pieces going in. That's the new floor pan. And then I had to custom make my own firewall piece because for this big hole right here above the floor pan, because I couldn't get one. They're all out of stock. So I had to make my own firewall piece for that. First time I've ever done that too. So there's the new firewall in place, screwed into place, not welded yet, but well, actually I just started welding right there, the flange to the frame. You can see where I welded that. And so that's basically the new firewall in. Now I've gone and cut a piece of 1/8 inch wall 2x3 tubing. I cut a hole in the floor and I channeled the piece of tubing right into the floor. So it's like square with the ground and it goes into the floor and it connects with the rear subframe. So this is making fish plates to attach the new subframe connector to the front subframe. And I basically just clamped plates and cut it out to the way I thought it would look proper and strong, and then just wrapped plates around the connection and welded it all together. That's all I did. And there it is after that subframe connector is complete. The fish plate is on, and yeah, it's all basically that's finished. Okay, so once the subframe connector was in place, then I had to make gussets to connect the subframe to the rear frame, and that's the gusset. So it welds along the frame, and then it basically it ties into the rear subframe right here and the body. It's all kind of like this whole underneath this plate is all kind of like a square gusset that attaches the subframe to the body. And so I basically welded my plate right to that, as well as the rear subframe, and then welded it right to my subframe connector. So as far as the Mustang goes, I've flipped it around. We've got on the other side complete floor pans all done. I got the rear outer fender, well, it's the outer inner fender installed. It's only screwed in place because that needs to be aligned with the whole back of the car when it gets put together. So that's not welded solid yet. So basically I flipped the car around. I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side. So this side was less damaged. There was less rot on this side than the other one. So I don't actually have to change the entire floorboards. I'm going to just change, well, I've already repaired. There was one rot hole right here that went through the floor and through the firewall. So what I've done is I've cut out both pieces. I welded a new sheet on the floor side, a new patch on the inside, and then I made another patch for the firewall and welded it over top. So this is complete now on the outside. I just have to go on the inside and finish the tack welds. A couple little holes from removal. I was a little bit rambunctious with the air hammer on that one. So now it's at the point where we're ready to install our subframe connector. I'm still in the process of making this. I cut this end piece too short on this one, so I'll have to fix that, but that's okay. And then we're gonna basically cut out the floor like we did on the other side and drop it right in there, more or less. And we'll do the exact same thing as the gussets and the fish plates on the other side, or on this side, as we did on the other side. And then after that, well, I don't know what's after that. I'll figure it out when I get there. The other fender, I guess. I'm learning as I go with this. I've never done this before, but I've got a lot of help from a lot of professionals that have been guiding me along the way and showing me things here and there, which is really nice. It's been a great learning experience. And that's where we're at with the Mustang so far. We're gonna basically be putting this project more or less on hold. I'm just kind of playing with it a little bit in my spare time because the Chevy's priority right now. We want to get that thing built and sold.
I just acquired a 425 horsepower Corvette LT1 engine out of a hot rod. It's complete. It's got all the chrome and all of the aluminum and everything. It's engine management system, air conditioning system, everything is basically included with this thing. So I managed to find a really good deal from a local hot rod guy in town here. We'll be picking that up in the next couple of days, and then after we get the frame sandblasted and primered, we can start putting that together. We can drop the engine in and get everything starting to come together. So that'll be in the next video.